So hypothesis settings and revision. We already started with identifying the problem. So sociologists would try to identify a problem, or they try to, especially the positivists, they try to find a topic or a search or research, or they identify a puzzle. Now that the puzzle has been identified, what next has to be done? They try to check evidences about that problem, if there are evidence in the past about that topic or that problem. So they do what we call a literature review. So a literature review is findings that will back up the problem that has been discovered. Findings that will back up what? The topic that has been discovered or the problem that has been discovered based on write-up of people, academic journals, or notes from people. That is what we call by literature review. Okay. The problem has been identified. Oh, has this problem been identified before? Has anybody come up with this problem before? What did they write about this topic, this problem, this puzzle? That is what we call literature review. Is literature review clear?
Yes.
So that means you're checking evidence from the books or academic journals. Now that is done, the next stage is making an hypothesis. So when you talk about an hypothesis, what does it really imply? It implies you finding a research that will back up, that will support that puzzle or disprove that puzzle. So a research that will support your analysis, your idea, or that will disprove that idea. That is what an hypothesis is. So look at what I wrote here. Sociologists would have identified the problem using the literature review, which means trying to get evidence from the past that people have written about the same problem if it has occurred before. That's the literature review. The next stage is to turn all the ideas into hypotheses. Now that you've gathered all these ideas, you turn them to hypotheses. And what is an hypothesis? It is a statement which research must find evidence to support or disprove, like I told you earlier. So hypothesis is there. So for that hypothesis to become a theory, it needs a support. Or before you turn it down, it needs to be disproved. But you have to make your research. So then before we say, okay, we're not going to take this in, it means that we have evidence to disprove it. Before we accept it to be a theory, it means we have evidence to support it. That is what they're talking about there. Is it clear?
Yes.
So we go to, we already know what hypothesis is, right? Mm-hmm. Hypothesis, a statement which a research must find to support or to disprove. That's what a statement is, right? That means you're looking for an evidence that you're looking for an evidence that will allow you to support that hypothesis or to disprove that hypothesis. That's about hypothesis. So now, what are the methods of providing evidence to support or disprove your hypothesis? We already know that an hypothesis is there. But for us to take it, for it to become a theory, it has to be proved. And if we're going to write it off, it means it's being disproved. Then there should be an evidence for that too. Either ways. So how do they go about these hypotheses? The methods they use, methods of providing evidence to support or to disprove hypothesis. Number one, pilot studies. When we talk about pilot studies, I wrote this is the use of a small-scale test of piece of a research project before main research. What they are saying is this: you test run. It's just like you test running a research, so that you can understand the response. So one of the methods is using the pilot studies. And for pilot studies, I wrote this is the use of a small-scale test of piece of a research project before the main research. So before you carry on the main research, you try to test run.
Okay.
Maybe you prepare a questionnaire for a certain group of people to see if they understand or they don't before you start making the bigger one. That's what we mean by pilot studies. So I wrote for here, research is carried out to understand on a small number to see if the research is understood or not. So that's a pilot research. It's not that huge. You try to select a certain group of people to see if whatever your research is based on they understand it or not.
Okay.
I think it's clear.
Yes.
The second method is sampling. And when we talk about sampling, I wrote, this implies to the act of choosing the respondents from the population. That means you are choosing. Respondents are those that are participating in the research. So you choose them.
Okay.
You're choosing a certain group of people to participate in that research. Do you understand? That's what we call sampling. So here, this will entail the people which the research is all about. So that means these people you are talking about will be the survey population. So what's the survey population? The respondents that you have chosen from the population. Do you understand? So those that are going to respond to the questions, to that your research, are called the survey population. Do you understand what survey population is here?
Yes.
Then from the survey population, we have the sampling frame. So list of people in that survey population is what we call the sampling frame. Oh, we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H in the survey population. So B is a sampling frame. D is a sampling frame. A is a sampling frame. Do you understand what a sampling frame is here?
Yes.
So a survey population is what? The choosing respondents from the population. That is your survey plan, your survey population. Then, inside your survey population, we have the sampling frame, which is the list of each individuals in that survey population is a sampling frame. A frame. Is it clear? So what are the problems of sampling frames? One, it is difficult to get a good and useful sampling frame. People, you might find it difficult to see the right person. It's difficult. Two, it represents the whole population, which may not be adequate. So from those samples that you've chosen, you're going to generalize them. So you're going to assume that whatever happens to this sample frame or this survey population happens to the whole population, which is not really ideal. So choosing 5 people out of 100 and saying the 5 people represent the 100.
No.
Sampling must be generalized. That's generalizability. And what is generalizability? It means the research you make, the findings about the sample, you are using it for the whole survey population or group of people. Do you understand? That's what we mean by generalizability. The survey, the research, the findings you make in your research, you are using it for the whole group of people. That is generalizability. Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay.